You're tuned in to Cosmidelic Down with your host,
Poetry legend, philosopher.
Mark Marcel.
All right, my man. All right. Ready to do this?
Sir.
All right. We are plugged in to the Cosmidelic download, and I am with my guest and peer, Malachi Rivers, and he is a spoken word artist, actor, entrepreneur, all that, and he has an album out, and it is in the Grammys. And it's called No Signal Volume 1. And so I'm expecting volume 2 and 3 and 4. You know that, right?
I know, right? I gotta do it now.
Yeah. So, but nah, Malachi, how you doing, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Yeah, thank you for having me, brother.
Nah, dude. Thank you for joining, man. What inspired you to make this album?
So a couple of years ago, I was dealing with here's the thing. I've always prided myself in being a very outgoing person and connecting with everybody and stuff like that. And then a couple years ago, I started having like these anxiety moments.
Right.
And I was like, what the hell is going on? And I realized that I was taking in so much of everything from politics to the world and energy and stuff like that. And I just had to really fight for my peace again and get to a space and be and a lot of it had to do with being vulnerable enough to actually say, these are the things that have been bothering me. This is the stuff I've been dealing with. And so No Signal came about because I'm like, who are you when you have no outside source or signals from like the world, the people, and you're just sitting with yourself and being one with nature and yourself and God, and just being like, I'm just going to sit here. And who are you with any outside influence? And so that's where it came about. And volume 1 is because the healing has just begun.
Right.
Where it came from. So
respect on that. You're right about that, right? For real. See, dude, I see. I'm glad I'm doing these, man. Like now I understand the title to the album. You know what I'm saying? It's like little things like that, dude. That's dope, dude, man. That's dope, man. What inspired you? What this isn't your first album?
No, so I had did 2 EPs before then. But also did hip hop as well.
Right.
And so I did 2 EPs that were more like hip hop centered. And then in 2007, I did an album called Open Real Deck with 2 jazz cats. One named Marcus Strickland, and then another one named Keon Harrell, who was nominated last year for Alternative Jazz Album. And this is before they were even nominated for Grammys or whatever. But we did an album together. That was like the voice of the group. And so that was like spoken word. So that was like back in 2007. And so I did those projects. But this is like my first full length album by myself, and like, as far as like spoken word and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah. So, cause yeah, dude, the album's dope, dude, for real, man. Like it is, there's heart in it, man, for real. Like, and I can tell when you said, kind of when you was rapping, when you said you come from that background, I was like, yeah, this dude flows. Like he knows. So tell me about that, man. Tell me about the transition to, I guess, just to label it, because everything is labels or whatever, but to label it spoken word now and what you're doing. Because I think poetry is in everything.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I always did spoken word poetry. But even when I was doing it a lot of times or whatever, because I loved hip hop so much, like it was just like my natural, like I'll hear a hip hop beat and I'll just be like, oh, blah, blah, whatever. And then people like, and this guy, Curtis, who I knew from back in the day, he worked in the music industry and stuff like that. He was like, man, he said, you should just try rapping. He's like, cause you already know the spoken word, but he's like, you're in the pocket so much, so you should just try rapping. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm not, whatever. And so I started doing it, and I was like, oh shit, I can do this.
Right.
But I have to be honest, I never, the love for it was just because I was like, oh, it was more of a challenge to do it.
Right.
But the love for it wasn't like how I felt about spoken word. Like spoken word poetry just is naturally in me.
Right.
I felt like the rapping part was just more being like, oh yeah, I can do that too. You know what I mean? It just like my natural energy and from the performance style naturally goes into more of a spoken word space.
Right. When did you get into spoken word?
I wrote my first poem coming out of high school, and then when I went to college, um, I got into it, and I actually ended up being part of a group. Me and a young lady named Constance, and we formed a group. We were like the male and female version of poetry, where she was like singing, and we would do like poetry and singing and stuff like that, and we became really well known, popular on campus.
Right.
Um, I just kind of like fell in love with it ever since then, and just been doing it since then. And so that was like the early 2000s.
Right, right. So tell me, like, there are certain cuts that I feel like make an album. You know what I'm saying? Like, and like because I know when I make my album, there's cuts that are on the fence that are like, I don't know if this is gonna make it or whatever. Like, tell me like some of the cuts on this album that like that it would not be this album without those cuts. You know what I'm saying? Like the heart of it.
Um, yeah. I'd say the first one to write off that would be Choice with me and Queen Sheba.
Right.
And it's funny because when we were working on the song, she wrote so much of the verse of her verse or whatever, and I was just like, but it was so good. I was like, if I don't chop this off, like the song's gonna be 20 minutes long.
Right.
We ended up just having a version for her album.
Right, right, right.
But
Oh,
she
that's
has her
dope.
own
Okay.
version. Yeah, where she continues her story. And
Right.
I have my story more, but we're in it or whatever. But like she continues the story on her version.
Right.
And
That's
for
dope.
my story. But yeah, that was a piece for both of us where we were just like, you know what, like we done made it. Like we done came up. Like people try to change who we are, try to shake us and whatever, and we literally are standing true to who we are and learning to love and like who we are. And so for me, that was uh, a piece that I'm like, it just needed to be on the album. Then there was uh No Signal, which is the title track. It kicks off or whatever, and it's just really me just talking about today I'm releasing everything that tried to that I thought was hindering my life, and today I'm just tapping in and I'm being one with myself, nature, and God. It is releasing everything. So that's the title track. um and I wouldn't be the album. Oh, uh I would say Meet Me at the Harbor.
That's my
Um,
joint. That's my joint. I was waiting. I was like, is he gonna say that? I'm waiting.
no, yeah. Meet Me at the Harbor, and that particular piece where it was just initially when we were recording that piece, and so Meet Me at the Harbor is really enslaved people used to go to these places they called hush harbors, right? And so it was a place where they can actually go um and practice their religion, whatever it was, right? And speak what's going on and trying to hide away from masters and all that other stuff or whatever, right? And so for me, this was kind of like a modern day version of it, where it's just like I'm talking about what's happening to us, but here we are, we're thriving, we're still, no matter what is happening in the world, as people of color, Black people, and so and that's how the whole idea came about. But it was interesting when I was recording it because the song was supposed to be structured totally different, right? It was going to be more of like I do something and then the chorus comes in, stuff like that. And I remember being in the studio recording it, and it was just one of those days where I was just like, just hitting it. And my producer turned around. He was like, "Oh no, keep on going, keep on going." And the more he did it, the more hype I got, and it was just like, and it's just like, and then we brought in like a chorus at the end to like add more elements to it or whatever. But yeah, it was one of those moments I was in the studio and I just was like just flowing and just started letting it go. But yeah, people really gravitate towards that song, and I'm looking to perform that song live. Like I think that's going to be a big hit.
Yeah. Oh, you haven't performed it yet?
I performed it, just not the what you hear on the album. I
Right.
performed it. It's doing it as a spoken word piece, like a cappella. So
Right. Got you. Yo, dude, how difficult is it for you to memorize your pieces?
you know, it's interesting because it's like, man, in them 20s, I was just like, oh, ah, and now it's just like, man, I find myself like so I'm going through that process of now to just continuously listening to the album,
Yeah.
and I'm like, shit, like damn, I still miss that word. You know what I mean? And then so sometimes I was like, what did you write all this shit? Like, it's just like, no,
Right.
but so it is a little more challenging. But yeah, I'm going to get it because for me, I'm just like, there's certain songs I feel like, and I don't know if you feel this way, but there's certain songs I feel like I could definitely play off performing wise to read it because it creates the mood, right? I can break up a music stand or something. You know what I mean? It'll be like some of the slower ones or whatever, but like something like Meet Me at the Harbor, I don't want to be reading that. You know what I mean? Like,
Right. Yeah, because you won't be in it.
so
Yeah.
it's just certain songs that I'm kind of picking and choosing. Like, you gotta learn. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, you're exactly right. No, yeah, there's some pieces you have to show that emotional performance aspect
Yeah,
in it instead of it just being the words, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, they gotta like, feel it and see you feeling it in a way. But yeah, that Meet Me at the Harbor, that's my joint, man. For
yeah.
real, man.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, yeah. Where do you see yourself going next after this album?
Um, so from and I would say this from a spiritual place. This album has awakened something to me again.
Oh, I love that.
Didn't have before. And to your point, I think you mentioned it earlier, where we take a break from no spoken word.
Right.
And so for me, being an actor as well, so it's like acting is, you get your script, you do your role, and of course you want to tap into something, and you perform and stuff like that. But for me, spoken word is it's me. It's personal, and it was my therapy. It was like my journal. You know what I mean? And so I even say with the FYCs and Grammys and stuff like that, and I was just like, oh man, that would be great. Trust me, great to get a nomination or anything like that. For me, the idea of being able to feel like, man, I want to hit the stage again,
Yeah.
spoken word artist. That's where that's more important for me than anything.
Respect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel that now. And I feel like, oh man, I want to get out there and perform again. I want to do that or whatever. So I'm like, regardless of whatever happens,
Right.
it's made me go like, oh, you want to get out there and perform again. You want to really do some shows and stuff like that. So
Yeah, that's real shit you just said, for real, man. Because it's basically surrendering to whatever happens, just knowing that you yourself want to be in movement.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? And that right there is, it's the most simplest things that are the biggest things, honestly. And it's like we're at that age now where we realize that, and just to hear that, like, because I totally see that because even me being in the Grammy process, being a member, like it has, dude, just meeting these people I see the doors that it can open up, the possibilities and experiences that can come with that. And I'm like, wow, like my life just becomes more fruitful
yeah,
just in being active, you
mhm,
know? And active is, hey, let me put this album in here. Like what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care if it wins the nomination, that'd be great. Let me just put this album in here because I know I will be active with it and at least trying to attain that nomination. And dude, like whenever you create movement that goes somewhere, you know what I'm saying? So you creating the movement, getting the FYCs, promoting, like reaching out, like that's creating movement. And it's like these, like, you know what I'm saying? These little just
mhm, mhm.
roads like stretching everywhere, possibility that you can go, man. It's like in the journey in the album, like basically you like admitting that, like, who are you, without the signal, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, you see that, it's like, dude, that's really dope, man. That's really dope. How much of your acting background has played a part into your poetry?
Oh, it's
Or
been
is it,
everything.
uh,
It's everything because it's like, when I am, even when I'm writing, like, um, and I write for as an actor as well, like creating shows and stuff like that. My mind literally goes to um the honesty part of things.
Right.
You know what I mean? And trying to be honest and stuff like that. Because here's the thing. I used to be uh a poet where, and I love metaphors, I love alliteration, I love language, right? But I used to be a poet where it was just like I would go all my way to try to be over top of people's head. You know what I mean? Like it was just like,
That's funny. That's funny. Yeah. You would we have these perceptions of what poets are.
yeah.
And one of the perceptions is they're supposed to really make you think with these words and I feel you. So it's like
I was one of those people. I used to be sitting there and be like, "Ooh, and if I say this, they gonna be like, what's that?" You know what I mean? Just like whatever, right?
yeah.
And so I think, and everybody has their own way of doing things, and I think, for me, um, taking so much time off and really tapping into who I am, allowed for me to have space for, um, the balance of, you know what I mean, to have like the vulnerability there where I'm actually just saying things, because I have some pieces where it's just like, I am more poetic than others. Then I have some pieces where I'm just like straight up just more from the spoken word art or whatever, and I'm just laying it out. um but the acting side taps in more because it's just like I'm really truly trying to um grasp an emotional space and try to, whatever it is, right, and trying to be like as genuine and as pure as possible to reach people.
Right.
I've had people come up to me and say, even about the albums, like, I ain't even a poetry person, because after a while I'm like, whatever, it was just like, I love your album, you know what I mean? So it's just like, for me, it was just, it means a lot to be in a space of introducing, I guess, the spoken word to people who doesn't necessarily gravitate towards it. And I think, um, the acting side just helps because I'm able to emote and tap in a way, and even with performance wise, you know what I mean?
Right. Right.
Because I think of it even from, as opposed to just necessarily from the spoken word perspective of just performing with the mic and stuff like that. My mind always goes into, oh man, like a balance between poetry and then even like having like almost like a monologue feel to it, where it's just like, you know what I mean, where it's just like you grabbing the audience and pulling them in
Right.
and looking them in the eyes and just stuff like that. So I think it's created by the acting has definitely made me a better spoken word artist performer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. I guess that is the thing in spoken word. It's not just the writing, it's how are you going to perform it. So that acting background really really um just brings it forth, you know.
Because there's amazing poets, but
Yeah.
they're not spoken word artists. You know what I mean? They're not.
Right,
They don't write.
exactly.
They can write books for days and be like, oh, blah blah blah. But you see them, you're like, okay.
Yeah, yeah, you hit it on the head. I'm not gonna say no names, you know. I'm gonna leave this a very positive interview that we're gonna have here, man. Dude, where can the people find you, man? Let them know where they can find you. Let them know where to get the album and stuff like that.
So No Signal Volume 1 is on all streaming platforms. Released on all streaming platforms. And then my website is malachirivers.com. That's MALACHIRIVERS rivers.com. Instagram, all social media is all Malachi Rivers. You can find me on there. So everything is Malachi Rivers.
No doubt, no doubt. And after the album, like, what are some of your other art projects you got?
I have a series called Moments, which deals with a Black therapy group, and the moment that led to the therapy. But each episode focuses on a different character, and we address some issues that are like really taboo in the Black community. We talk about everything, so each episode focuses on the issue, and the acting is amazing. I think the writing, and so just working with my production company with that, and we're pitching it to networks and stuff like that, and trying to get it out there. And yeah, and I'm also working on my one man show um that I'm gonna do, and it's gonna incorporate acting and poetry and stuff like that. So just a couple things.
That's dope, brother, man. For real, dude. I wish you nothing but success, man, for real. And we out here in LA, so we may not have to meet at the harbor, you know, but we can meet somewhere maybe on Crenshaw Boulevard or in Hollywood or something, man. You know,
Maryland boys and two Maryland boys in LA, you know what I'm saying?
exactly. Two Maryland boys in LA, man. Yeah, dude. Malachi, it's been a pleasure, man. I appreciate your time, man. And people, you know, go check this man out. He's a brilliant artist, man, and wonderful human being.
Thank you, man. Same to you.
No doubt. Respect. We are going to unplug Cosmic Delic.